welcome to Rise and Design. Welcome to my dining room, your living room, your bedroom, wherever you happen to be. It's a glorious day, isn't it? It's going to be a glorious weekend, but as I said earlier, we have a Scotsman in the room, so we're not going to say why it's going to be a glorious weekend.
All right,
but it is.
All right.
More than one.
Oh, sorry, of course, yes. We really shouldn't talk about that thing. As I say, yes, welcome to Rise and Design. My name's Terry McStay. It's great to see you all here. The last one before the summer break. Those of you who were with us last month might remember I was telling you about my foreign holiday a few weeks previously. I say foreign, it was to North Wales, but you know, I was hanging on to that as being a foreign holiday. Well, I'm going to make you all jealous now because I've actually booked a real foreign holiday. So I'm off to Barcelona next month. I booked it in anticipation of the rules changing, which fortunately have just changed, which means I can come back without having to stay at home for 10 days. So if anyone's got any, I've only been once and that was very briefly. So if anyone's got any recommendations and suggestions of places I should go, preferably places that are free or at least cheap, then put them in the chat. I've started my spreadsheet. I'm ridiculously organized when it comes to holidays. So I've got a spreadsheet I will have, with all the things I need to do. We went on holiday, went on a bit of a road trip, but it wasn't a bit, it was a road trip in California about 4 years ago. And I had like a ring binder like that. But in my defense, you know, we were visiting 4 different places, doing lots of traveling, seeing lots of things in San Francisco and Monterey and lots of other places. So, you know, I thought I was justified in being organized. I mean, the PowerPoint presentation I did the week before might have been overdoing it a little bit. So this time around, I'm trying to, you know, be a bit more chilled. But as I say, I still will welcome any recommendations that anyone has. But anyway, enough about me. As I say, welcome to Rise and Design. I'm just going to put you on gallery view. So can I just have a quick show of hands from those of you who are here at the Rise and Design for the first time? Give me a bit of a wave. Well, there's a few of you. Well, a very special welcome to you. I'm just going to turn my, sorry. I'm just going to turn my projector on. There's that many buttons to press here. And just tell you a little bit about, sorry, I'm pressing all the wrong buttons. Tell you a little bit about what you've let yourself in for. So this is what we're going to be hearing about today. I think with it being the last one before the summer, we didn't want to have anything too heavy. But having said that, you know, it might not be very sort of business or as business focused as usual, but these are still important things that people are doing, just for slightly different reasons. But in fact, you know, you could argue more important than many of the things that we hear about. But for those of you who are here for the first time, this is Rise and Design. We've been doing this every month for the last almost 12 years, which really doesn't bear thinking about and was never anticipated, but it just kind of seems to work. And this is why, because we as Design Network North believe that great design can improve any product, service or business. And our role is to help make that a reality, thereby increasing the contribution that design makes to, well, it says to the economy, but to you, to your business, to what you do, to your life even. So in those 12 years, I think we've done about 150 of these events. We've had 6,000 and odd delegates along from a couple of thousand businesses. We've had nearly 400 speakers who come and shared their knowledge, their expertise, their stories. Sadly, that bottom right figure hasn't gone up for a year and a bit. The bacon sandwich number still is stuck on 6,253. But hopefully it won't be too long before we can ask Bill to come back and give us all breakfast again. But these sessions really are a good way to meet people. I'd encourage you to meet as many people as you can today. And you can do that just as well online as you could if we were all in a room together. It's about sharing knowledge. The speakers are going to be sharing their stories, but you know that we've all got stories to tell. So try and meet as many people as you can. As I say, it's about learning new things, but hopefully more importantly, it's about taking something away that is going to make a difference to you, and something that you can take forward in your business. So, sorry, I've got the live stream on YouTube. I'm just going to turn that down. So we have, as usual, some fabulous presentations for you, and then I'm just going to update you on a couple of things that are going on. But throughout the morning, even though we're all sitting looking at a screen, we can still network. So as I say, try and make the most of those opportunities. So I'm delighted that we have Chris from Global Teacher, who's going to tell us a bit about the journey that he's been on over the last couple of years, and a journey that we're very proud to have played a little part in. And then we have Bill from USAL, who's joining us from Belfast, or the environs, and he's going to tell us about the amazing work that they do with people in their community. And then we have Dave from the Tynemouth Volunteer Life Brigade, that myself and also David, who's with us today, and Nick, are very pleased to be working with over the next few months. And he's going to be telling us a bit about the history and the heritage and the amazing stories of the work that they do. And then I'm going to mention something that we've got coming up that is hopefully going to support them in doing those things. And then we have Dan from Spearhead Interactive, who's going to, again, be telling us about some of the amazing work they're doing with their kind of virtual creation of virtual worlds. So that's what we've got coming up for you this morning. But before we do that, we're going to have the first go at doing a bit of networking. So what I'm going to do is put you into breakout rooms. So there'll be 3 or 4 of you in each room, and just take a few minutes to introduce yourselves to one another, who you are, where you're from, why you're here, and just have a bit of a chat and get to know each other. And then I'll invite you back to the main room. If you end up in a room on your own, it's not me making a point. It's just that the other people who were meant to go in the room aren't in front of their screens at the time. But I will keep an eye out. So I'll try and put you into another room if that is the case. So don't take it personally. It has happened in the past, so I'll try and avoid it this time. So you should get a little.
I expect to be in a room on my own this morning.
Well, I'll put you and Sandy together. How's that?
Yeah, thanks.
And you can talk about that thing.
We can talk about how much we hate Englishmen. And,
yeah, exactly. So you should get a little window that comes up and invites you to join a breakout room. So just click on that, and then I'll drag you all back here in about 5 minutes or so. Okay, right, off you go. Then drop me a line afterwards, and I can connect you. So I'm now going to invite Chris to join me on the stage. I love talking about Chris because he came to one of our events 2 years ago and stood up and did a pitch and said, "I've got this thing I want to do, and I'm looking for some help." And then, as I'd hoped and expected, lots of people pitched in, and I've been helping them since, which is brilliant, which is really what this network is all about. But I'm not going to say any more because I don't want to steal Chris's thunder. So, Chris, can I hand over to you?
Yes, you can indeed. I was just saying to the guys in the breakout room, my laptop is really kind of making a loud noise and freaking out in the background. I don't know if I'll be able to get the presentation up in time, but I've got it. So I'll just share my screen.
And if you do have any questions for Chris or any comments, just pop them in the chat, and I'll invite you to ask him those questions at the end.
Can everybody see that?
We can, yeah, it's fine.
Lost you somewhere.
Awesome. So yes, thank you very much, Terry. Again, as we both know, how important Rising Design has been to us over the journey of the last 2 years. So I'm more than grateful for that, and excited to share the recent developments, because a lot's changed. For one, we haven't always been called Global Teacher. We rebranded at the start of this year in February from My Cloud Coach and Donate, a social enterprise and a charity. Kind of really confusing. Why make it confusing when we could just make it much more simple and see on the tin what we do? So at Global Teacher, we have a mission, if you like, a big, audacious, hairy goal, and to teach 1 million marginalized students by 2025. But really under that mission, if you like, there's an umbrella term, and we wish to make digital education available for all, because we know, especially since the introduction of coronavirus, how fast the world is turning to digital. I mean, take this event, for example. But there is still that bottom billion that gets left behind, who still don't have access to education, and definitely not digital. Again, in the breakout room, I might be repeating myself here, but where did it start? This was an idea that was birthed in university. That picture there's of Manchester. I spent 3 years in Manchester and had the most fantastic time getting away from my hometown. Nothing wrong with Sunderland, but yeah, I think you'll all agree Manchester's a bit more impressive. Studied design engineering at Manchester Met, and just absolutely relished the experience. This is where my passion for ideas was solidified, so probably fit in on at this networking event. Probably a lot of people share that passion, but not just any ideas that I believe can change the world, because they're the real exciting ones. And at first that was a daunting thing, but now I take it in my stride, and I think, yes, this is what I want to devote my life to, life-changing, world-changing ideas. This was me graduating here in the middle. Still to this day, one of the best days of my life. So proud I worked so hard in my final year. Throughout my life in education, I'd always kind of, as you do, wing it or coast through. But in my final year, I really knuckled down, spent lots of time in the library, and then the reward of graduating with a good degree was so worth it. So I had this overriding emotion, which was one of gratitude. Handing in my last assignments. The guy, Connor, we met on the first day, and we stayed friends all the way at the end, and we're handing in our penultimate assignment, and it felt like it went over in a blink, those 3 years. But there was this nostalgic kind of gratitude for what education had afforded me, because really I was coming to the end. I knew I wasn't going to do a master's. I was going to graduate, and that would be it. So a little bit sad to leave it all. So in our final year, we were tasked, again, designers in this at this event will probably understand or familiar with this brief, is find a problem and design a solution. Go into an area that you're interested about and find that problem, and then come up with a solution. I chose to study education in the developing world because of this aforementioned affinity for education. And I found, as you can imagine, as I delved into this area, a lot of just shocking statistics. The kind of flagship one being 15% of the world's adults are illiterate. And I've done the maths, that's around about 1 billion people who can't read or write. And then below you can see 30% of people don't have 3G, so basically don't have internet, and over 1 billion, so which is around about that 16% number, have no electricity. So really, as I said, the brief, I defined my problem, and that was a lack of resources. This is one of the statistics that I often mention, is one textbook in Cameroon is shared between 12 children. And this is really not a feasible way to learn. I always use the example of when I was at school, if we had to share one book between two, that was like you were in a bad situation. It was like, why do I have to share my book? I want my textbook so I can read it, so I can turn the page. But in Cameroon, clearly that's just not the case. And the access to education is far, far worse than what we experience. So as I said, I've defined this problem, and this was something that I became really passionate about solving. Not only passionate about it, but I also felt I could solve it. So I looked at what other people are doing, and I saw fantastic organizations such as Books to Africa, who, as you can see on this image, go into schools, box up all to use textbooks, second-hand textbooks that the schools are finished with, and put them in a shipping container and ship them to Africa. And to this date, they've donated over 1 million textbooks, which is fantastic. It's a lot of textbooks and a lot of shipments. But as designers do, they find problems with existing solutions. And the problem with that is it's very time intensive. It can take almost 6 months to get there and then get to the rural cities in kind of total journey time. It's very expensive. And typically in hotter climates, physical books can become worn, or in the rainy season damaged. So this thought was kind of the thought or the moment that I'd searched for all my life, being passionate about ideas, writing in my notes, what's my idea, what's the thing that I'm going to champion, what's that not necessarily $1 million idea, but what's that thing that I can back and I can be passionate about. And I was running a shower at my university house, and I just thought, I was thinking about we use Moodle and all of this online education, and there was a massive amount of digital educational material in the ecosystem, if you like. And I thought, hang on a second, why can't you donate digital? If you look at cash, paying by cash, £5 note, £10 note, but now it's contactless card. If you look at paper-based methods of accountancy, logbooks, all of that type of thing, now we use Free Agent or Sage software. So everything's evolved from paper-based to digital. Why can't we say the same in the donation of educational material? The problem then persisted of, okay, so you've got this fantastic donation idea where teachers, educators can donate their digital content, but in that rural setting where they have no internet, no electricity, how do they access the donated content? So really the design project became about Pod, and Pod is a low-cost, durable solar power projector that makes all of the donated content available offline and off-grid in rural parts of the world. These are some kind words that people have said along the way. One notable one from Nick Clegg. I actually emailed him randomly at 9:30 at night. My dad used to work for his brother, and he just literally 5 minutes later, "Hi Chris, love the project. Many congrats, right about." And then he introduced us to someone at Facebook. So that was quite a pinch yourself moment. But yeah, we've had some nice words said. This is another kind of, as well as making digital education for all, as I spoke about this bottom billion, but we're focusing on that 1 million marginalized, because as the rest of the world pulls away and adopts Zoom and you know, lessons are online, that divide just kind of increases, and who's catering for that kind of marginalized million, if you like, at the bottom. Over the course of the last 2 years, we've built a fantastic team, and I'll not go through them all. I could tell you everything about all of them. To be honest, we've developed a fantastic team to get the idea and the product and basically to get the word out, to do everything that we've achieved. Has been a combination of the efforts of these people. Also, we started off as a CIC, a social enterprise, but then we registered a charity and created a board, which we're still adding to. We actually just recruited a chair, which I'm so excited about. Her name is Sumi, and she's originally from Malaysia, moved to Northern Ireland and worked for PepsiCo, had this fantastic professional career, and then has agreed to become the chair of our charity, and she's really, really high profile and perfect for the role, I would say. So that's going to definitely take us to the next level. This is an example, a little case study of Oswin. So we currently partner with Steve Cram's charity that he co-founded in Newcastle called COCO, and they have partner schools in East Africa, and Oswin manages a cohort of schools there, and that's where we're going to do our pilot project. We actually had a trip there planned last year on 2 occasions, July and then November, and as you can imagine, both got cancelled. So really, as soon as we can, we're looking to get out there. But firstly, we're going to send our projectors over for a pilot project. Partners, what I wanted to say is the real development has been, we started an outreach campaign at the beginning of the year to educational partners, because this donate a doc movement that we coined, we realized that, okay, so we need teachers, educators to donate individual PDFs and worksheets and PowerPoints. How long is that going to take to build up a credible curriculum that's going to change the lives of the people in these rural settings? That's probably, there's a timeline to that, and it's still something that we wish to do, but it's not something that we can do now. So what we decided to do was partner with organizations such as, we've had conversations with Pearson, Hodder Education, so like they're both big publishers. A really good conversation with EdPlace, who are an online digital education provider, and basically what they are offering is their materials, their support, so that we can put ready, like kind of pre-made, proven curriculums onto our projector and then send them out to the developing world. So almost shortcutting that whole donate a doc process. And that's it, I suppose. I hope one thing that I wanted to put a call out for is, So we put a couple of job posts on LinkedIn, one of which was for electrical engineer, but in the past I pitched at Horizon Design, and Black & Decker were there, Voldo were there, and just had an amazing audience to reach out to. So we're looking to work with a company who are electrical and software engineers, because that's the final bit of our product development that we need to kind of nail down. So that's, I suppose, the core. Is there any electrical and software engineers out there who will be interested in working with us on this project? Supposed to make digital education for all. Thank you for listening, guys. I'll stop sharing now.
That's brilliant. Thanks for that, Chris. I'll just, if we could thank or show appreciation to Chris in the now usual manner, so we don't applaud. Bit of jazz hands. That was fabulous. Thanks for that, Chris. I don't think there are any questions in the chat. So does anyone have a question for Chris, or a comment, or an offer of something?
Hi there.
Trevor.
Oh, sorry.
No, Trevor, do you want to go first, Trevor?
Hi, Chris. Thanks for that. It was great. So I'm coming from an educational background as well. I'm a lecturer at the University of Leeds. I was just wondering, have you considered LinkedIn Learning as a platform to get material from as well? So I've been using that for the last year or so. It's something that universities are using quite heavily to develop training and learning and literacy in different subject areas. So you just didn't mention it in your presentation. I thought could be an avenue for you to follow up as well. It's becoming quite a powerful tool for education.
To be honest, Gerard, I haven't actually really looked into it. I know my partner does a lot of the courses on LinkedIn, but it's something that I'd have to look into more. We've typically thought of more, I suppose, typical educational organisations and approached them. But there was one instance where we had one of the functions of the platform is called Request a Doc, where teachers on their 3G smartphones fill in our little form and they tell us about themselves and the resources that they need, and then we put that crowdfunding style project out to via our platform to the world essentially. And one of them was there's a local group of women who go sell at the market, and they wanted to understand how to make more profit through marketing efforts. So that was something that I actually went to LinkedIn for, rather than typically going to the community of teachers saying, have you got a presentation on ancient Egypt or whatever it may be, or algebra. But actually up here we could go to the LinkedIn community, who's someone who may deliver marketing presentations. So that was where we linked with LinkedIn before, but not in that way that you mentioned. So thank you for suggesting that.
Thanks, Gerard. Trevor, did you have a question for Chris?
Yes, thanks, Terry. Chris, first of all, I think the motivation you have is fantastic. So well done on the whole concept. It's tremendous. But a couple of practical questions occur to me. How do you blend in the material you're receiving for free into some form of understood and accepted curriculum or curricula? And also at the point of delivery with the students or pupils that you have, how do you know in these remote locations that it's being dispersed in the proper manner? I say that I have a background of Africa, so I know Africa quite well in that regard. And I'm just wondering about how you know that the pupils are benefiting from a brilliant idea and a great piece of technology. And then lastly, how much does each projector cost? How much and who do you get to pay for them? The educational systems of each country? How do you go about your business model? Thanks.
No worries, Trevor. So could you go back to the first question, Trevor, and just...
First question was, how do you know that the material you're receiving from your donated sources comes to some form of accepted curriculum within each school's system, so that you may have picked up something on ancient Egypt, but if Zambia doesn't focus on that and it doesn't focus into their GCSEs or primary school education, how do you know that you're picking up the right material?
Yes, so this, I suppose, the appropriateness or the fit for purpose level of the curriculum has been something that we've considered the whole way through. as I mentioned, that request a doc feature where it was almost like a crowdfunding style request where people from the educational community pledged documents rather than money. That was almost like focused donation. So it's donation of an educational resource based on a particular need. So that was a way that we thought maybe we would get around it. The other way is for example, EdPlace or Hodder, for example. EdPlace is a particularly good example because they have an entire curriculum from really right the way through the school years, and were so aligned with us from their team's point of view to ours. They said, we're actually happy for you to tap into our API, use our entire database of questions as you freely as you like, put a front end on it. So basically we have access to an entire curriculum there, an entire body of work, which covers all bases. And then I suppose it's about the effectiveness of our platform and the search capability for the teachers to navigate via keywords, subject, age, language, to pick out the resources that they particularly need.
So you see this as a supplement to the children's education, but something that's just up to speed and can work because of solar power. You're bringing the technology of solar power to education and supplementing the ordinary course material or materials that the teachers have. Is that the basic idea?
I would say if you were specific about it, it's a teacher resource kind of supplement. Yes, it's for teachers to bolster the quality of their learning or their teaching. Sorry. So, for example, in Tanzania at the moment, they have one book that consists of the entire curriculum, and the teacher literally, as you've heard the expression chalk and talk, just copy out the curriculum on the board. So you're taking something that's that level of education, that level of pedagogy, if you like, to something that's assisted by a digital offline tool where you're accessing the kind. I mean, EdPlace is in about 4,000 schools in the UK, growing rapidly over the coronavirus period. So you're taking it from that level, chalk and talk, to something of EdPlace's standard that is like Ofsted standard in the UK in this moment. So it's, I mean, not one or two leagues, it's quite a few.
I think your answer's answered my second question. My last one was, how do you sell? What's your business model? How do you make your money?
The projector itself, this was always, as we're a charity, it was never something, as I said, in the $1 million idea. It was never that, to be honest. It was something that I would be passionate about and take forward. The projector can be bought, sponsored, or fundraised. I mean, so if you think from a marketing effort, our projectors doesn't actually look like what you've seen now. It's much smaller, and the unit cost is being driven. So we started making prototypes at £1,000, pulling everything together, using someone else's 3D print. Then we bought our own Prusa 3D printer, dropped down the cost to around £300 a unit, and we've now missed out the middleman of the projector side. So we think we can even get it maybe sub 100, probably adventurous, but sub 200 definitely. So really in driving the cost down, we've made it much more realistic commercially. So if you imagine we launched this projector and we say the world's first portable, durable, 3D printed solar power projector, right? And it's at a reasonable cost. And we say to the world audience, you can buy one of these, and every time you buy one gets donated to the developing world. If it's a buy one, give one model. That's what something like Tom's shoes. So you buy a pair of Tom's shoes, one gets sent to the developing world. That's something that we've looked at. But I don't see the potential really in the commercial model of the projector. I think where the potential is within the platform. So if we're building a platform, which we've put a lot of time, effort, energy, money into, to create not just a donation engine, but a marketplace. So currently what exists on the market is platforms or websites like Test Times Educational Supplement, Twinkle, Sparkle, Sparklebox. I think teachers pushed for time go on to the internet and say, I need to use the ancient Egypt example. I need a PowerPoint on ancient Egypt, but I haven't got any time and I'm teaching the class tomorrow. I'm going to buy this PowerPoint off some other teacher for £3.50. And what, like eBay, what Test Times Educational Supplement will do, they'll take a selling fee. So for that transaction, so teachers buy and sell resources. So what we want to do is create a marketplace where teachers buy and sell resources as they ordinarily do. But the USP is all of the documents traded on the platform get preloaded onto the projectors. And then we use that selling fee. We use our markup build projectors and send them to the developing world. So it's almost like, not really a circular economy, but it works in a way where it's self-sufficient. So the activity, the regular market activity that already happens, funds the for good nature of the project, and it's a good sell to teachers, because teachers are doing good, which is in the hearts anyway, at no extra effort or cost to them.
Great. Thanks very much. Thanks, Terry.
Thanks for that, Trevor. Thanks, Chris. We've got another question in the chat, but if you don't mind, Stephen, what I'll do is when we go into the breakout rooms later, I'll make sure that you and Chris are in the room together, so you could pose your question directly, if that's all right. And Chris, when you do get to the stage of wanting sponsors for a projector, I'm sure these guys and all the other guys out there would love to chip in, and we could have a couple of DNN projectors out there teaching the world. So let us know when that's a possibility, and we'll try and do something there.
That would be fantastic. Sorry, thank you.
But that's great. Thanks for that, Chris. So I'd now like to welcome Bill from UCEL, who's going to talk to us about some of the amazing work that they do. So Bill, can I hand over to you?
Thanks, Terry. Good morning, everyone. I guess from the point of view, when I spoke to Terry at the front end, I wasn't sure whether, I suppose, our story was, worthwhile or worthy in relation to some of the stuff that you guys are covering, particularly when you listen to Chris's story this morning. UCEL we're the largest provider of disability employment support in Northern Ireland. We support something in the region of 1,800 people with disabilities every year, either get into work or stay in work having acquired a disability. And we look back probably 5 or 6 years ago, we were an organization in decline. Typically our organization is split in two halves. We have our disability employment support, which really delivers a range of in-work, pre-employment and training support for people with disabilities. It engages with something that is about 700 or 800 employers across all of Northern Ireland to secure employment. We also had a range of social enterprises where they were, or business units that really employ people directly. At that point in time, we were making new beds and mattresses. We also had a business that made high-end leather satchels. And we also then had a business that made a range of customized bags, covers, carriers, predominantly for the emergency services. And that part of the business was starting to rapidly decline. The reason behind that was really manufacturing cost. A lot of the activity we were involved in was, I guess, it was labor intensive. And in order for us to get our manufacturing costs in line with some of our competitors, we would have had to automate, which would have been counterproductive, because the more we automate, the less people we need, which sort of removes the very purpose of our existence, which is really to create employment and employment opportunities. And at that point, we really had a bit of a quandary in relation to we either stopped operating a social enterprise model entirely because it was becoming unaffordable and it was starting to put a strain across the rest of the business. And as I say, it was starting to seriously impact our ability to trade. And at that point, we were turning something in the region of around £4.5 million per year. So we came up with a new approach, which was really a strategy that was going to be focused on diversification with an element of disruption. We started to look then at areas within certain sectors where we thought we could compete. The barriers to entry were reasonably low. And we started to look at areas that no one else was doing. And the first area we came across was mattress recycling. So in Northern Ireland, there's something like 250,000 new mattresses sold every year. And the question we had was, well, what does everyone do with their old mattress? And if you think about anytime you see an article on the news, the first thing you'll see will be a discarded mattress. Sometimes I think journalists drive about with an old mattress in their car, and when they're trying to do a story, they get the mattress out, take a photograph, and that's the lead. So we started to talk to a number of local councils in relation to what were they doing with their old mattresses, and the story was the same. They were simply going to landfill. We then started the engagement with Belfast City Council around a potential pilot, where we came up with a unit cost for basically disassembling a mattress. And mattresses come in, most mattresses there's really only 4 components. There's a spring, there's polyester, there's some PU foam, and then the covering of the mattress is really we call ticking. Some of those components there's a value on, i.e., if you take the spring out and you shred the spring, there's a value in the steel. There's a value in the polyester, but the other 2 components really there's no value, and it's a cost to get almost to dispose of them. So we started off with a small pilot just on 5 years ago. That has led us to the point now where we have, probably through more accident than design, we've got to the front of the circular economy sector in Northern Ireland. So currently we're the only mattress recycler in Northern Ireland and one of only 2 in Ireland. And this year we'll recycle something just short of 70,000 units per year. We're the only carpet recycler in Northern Ireland. We're the only carpet tile recycler in Ireland. And that has then led us into other areas within that circular economy space where we are now the biggest provider of confidential shredding in Northern Ireland. And we're rapidly growing our cardboard recycling to the point that we'll recycle something in the region this year about somewhere between just short of 2,000 tons of what historically would have been waste into items that can now be reused. I suppose to put that into context, what that has really allowed us to do as a business, we will compete on a purely commercial basis on both price and quality of service. And then we'll overlay that with a heavy slice of social value. So we'll articulate the wider impact we have in relation to creating and securing jobs for people with disabilities. And currently across our social enterprise end of our business, we operate with an 83% disability rate. So we're a pan-disability organisation. We operate under that idea of we champion ability. So we talk about people what they can do, not what you can't do. And we'll find a slot within our big machine where, regardless of your disability, people are able to hold down employment, and that could be employment from 10 hours a week to 37 hours a week. And we adopt a very flexible employment model. What that has really, I suppose, delivered for us as an organisation, in the last 5 years, we've doubled in size. This year, we are forecasting a turnover of just something less of 10 million, and with a really strong plan for further growth. Lots of organisations have, I suppose, to a degree, struggled as we've come through COVID. The environment in which we have operated in, COVID has actually accelerated our growth because it has put a much greater focus on the need for that idea around a circular economy. It has also focused our regional government on the fact that Northern Ireland currently has the largest gap in disability employment. And we're now being seen as potentially an example of how social procurement can be driven to deliver real social value. As I say, we have a really strong focus on the people. So at the center of everything we do, we put our people. If any activity we engage in, if it doesn't mean we can deliver greater employment opportunities, more pathways to employment, or more secure employment, we don't do it. And we continue to look for niche sectors or gaps in the market that we can exploit, as I say, on quality and price, and that we can then overlay with social value. Now, as I say, for us, it's been a really interesting journey. There's been lots of lessons learned over the last sort of 5 years. But I think the big positive for us has been the increasing number of people that with disabilities that we've been able to support in that time. I'm sort of conscious of time and conscious that there's other presenters. So I really appreciate your time this morning. And if anyone's any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
I'll unmute myself. There we go. Thanks for that, Bill. I think the thing, because we chatted a few weeks ago when I was put in touch with you and thought you'd be great to come along to this session, the thing that certainly came across was that in terms of your organisation, yes, you employ people with disabilities, but it's not on a kind of oh, well, they'll be able to manage. It's on the basis of they will be brilliant and the things they will do will be fantastic, and it's a focus on quality, not on being some kind of, well, whatever the perceptions might be. And clearly that's worked because, some of the statistics there and the growth and the contracts you're winning, that's obviously the right way to go about things. Does anyone have any questions or any comments for Bill and the work that they're doing?
Bill, I sent you a comment in the chat. I mean, I think you've got a really inspiring story there. And what impresses me is the kind of very business-like and commercial approach that you've got there to the business, but which is also providing employment for people with disabilities. I think that's a very powerful story. And I wonder whether you've had any thoughts about sharing it with other charitable organisations throughout the UK, because I think you've got a really powerful set of experience there, which could help transform other charitable organisations.
I guess I suppose the approach that we apply. There's no shame in making money. I suppose the important thing is what do you do with the money when you make it. Everything that we generate is we invest it back in the business, or we create more jobs. A lot of the team that we have currently have come from the private sector, and we focus really squarely on driving proper social value. Lots of the I suppose the current contracts that we've been successful in winning, we do it on a commercial basis, because in the time that I've been with the business, I suppose what we have seen is lots of people make, talk about making a social purchase. But 9 times out of 10, when people are buying, as an example, mattresses or whatever, they buy on quality and price. So I don't think there's anyone, there'd be none of our major customers buy from us because the people we support have a disability. They buy because it's the best price, it's the best quality. And I think the point that we drive every single day is social enterprises are proper structured businesses that deliver social benefit. But the main thing we all have to do, we all have to survive. And if we have to compete on a commercial sense in order to do that, that's what we have to do.
Well said. Absolutely right.
Thanks for that, David. Sophie, you had a question you wanted, or a point you wanted to make to Bill.
Yeah, thank you. I just think that's an amazing story, and absolutely, I agree. The fact that you make a really commercial venture out of it is brilliant. And I wondered whether any of that learning and what you do, whether there's something that you can share with other organisations outside the charitable sector to help them employ more disabled people for what they can do, because it must be possible.
I guess, Sophie, one of the big targets that we have at the minute is actually how to engage, even as an example, the public sector in Northern Ireland, they engage more people with disabilities. Because the one thing I suppose that COVID has made us all focus on is the fact that what we can't do, because it's created a new normal, but it's created a new normal in lots of different fronts. And I think what we have to continually do, I suppose all organizations have to do, when we think about our customer base is becoming more diverse every day. So our staff has to represent the people that our customers that we're serving. So it's incumbent on us all, I guess, when we look at people with disabilities aren't any different to people without disabilities. They all have the same gripes, they all have the same pressures. And sometimes from the point of view of when someone's managing a disability, their ability to adapt is amazing. We find that it's a big positive for us as a business. And as I say, that extrapolating we operate under champion and ability. The world, as we all know, will tell us what we can't do. We hear every day what we can't do. So we try and focus on the positive element of that. We try and work out what you can do, and then we try and get a job that fits.
It sounds great. I mean, I know because I used to work in corporate world where diversity and inclusion was one of my, and it's how you break down the fear of unknown, because as you say, they're just the same.
So,
We're all people at the end of the day, aren't we?
I think that we find is that when we are competing with sort of purely commercial entities, the fact that we're supporting people with disabilities, it doesn't matter to us because we just deliver on quality and price. And the customers we support, do they need to know how the big machine works? No, they just need to know what the outcome is. So it's been an interesting journey for us, because the more competitive we get in some of the space that we're in, we are now starting to compete with sort of some of the largest recycling and waste companies on the island of Ireland. And in the main, we're doing okay. We're not there yet, but we still have we would a reasonably ambitious plan to grow again. And the more successful they are, the more jobs and employment opportunities we create. It's really simple. It's for me as I suppose a chief exec within the business, it's a really simple message. If it doesn't get people with disabilities into work, we shouldn't be doing it. So as an organizational focus, it's really helpful for us because we only do one thing.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Sophie.
And
then finally, I think, let's see, where's Jared gone? Jared, you had a point you wanted to make about some work that's going on in Sheffield, is that right?
Yeah, I just, fantastic work, Bill. I thought it was really, really impressive what you're doing there. When you were talking about, when you're deconstructing the mattress and certain elements have value, and this kind of story popped into my head. It was out last year, I think, where again, the foam was valueless last year until this came along, where they've come up with ways of quickly growing food using old mattresses in, I think, Syria. So they've, and that's a non-profit piece of research coming out of the University of Sheffield. I thought it might be something that for you to.
One of the things we are looking at, Jared, we're looking at a technology at the moment with a Canadian partner, where PU foam can be sort of reprocessed into polyoil. Which would allow it to go sort of back out and be reproduced in a different grade of PU foam. So we've done some early tests at the minute, and results are looking really positive. But that would in turn mean that instead of it being a cost, it would become an income generator.
Exactly.
And we see, as an example, if you look at the like of polyester at the moment is around £230 a ton. So the polyester helps us balance the polyester, and once we shred the metal spring, that helps us balance the cost of the two entities at the minute that are cost going out. We've moved the unit price to council because at the minute we're predominantly working with, I think, 7 of the 11 councils in Northern Ireland. So we've moved the unit price, and there's a piece of work being done at the minute from the Bedding Federation. Around end sort of producer responsibility. There's also a piece of work happening in Northern Ireland at the moment where landfill sites are considering banning mattresses to landfill. And if even the figures that we are operating on, like for up until we started doing this, like 75,000 mattresses were going to landfill every year. The tonnages when you get in behind some of these units is frightening. Like even in Northern Ireland alone, there's 6,500 tons of carpet goes to landfill every year. The numbers are phenomenal. And because of the very nature of Northern Ireland or Ireland, that whole idea around a linear economy where we bring stuff onto the island, we use it, and then we bury it, has to stop.
Yeah.
And I think you'll see the circular economy starting to take real traction now that we've been out of the EU, because we're going to have to think about our waste in a different way.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Jared.
Thanks, Jared. And I mean that there's a link there in the chat, but if you don't manage to get that, Bill, I can send that on to you.
Okay, thank you.
And then, I mean, as I mentioned when I introduced Chris, he came along to one of our events a couple of years ago and said, right, this is the challenge I've got. This is what I'm trying to do. Is there anyone out there can help? You're now part of this network, Bill, whether you like it or not.
No,
and it's great to have a connection with, someone across the Irish Sea. So if there's anything that we can do to support you, or that indeed that you could do to support us, it'd be great to have those conversations. So if you think there's anything because we've got a very broad membership of, hundreds, if not thousands of companies in all sorts of different areas. And they all love helping each other, and particularly people who are new to this network. So, if there's things that you've got in mind now or that come along in the future, we'd love to see if we could help and make some connections there.
Okay, thank you, Terry.
But thanks for joining us, Bill. It's a great story, and it's been great to hear it. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
Introduce Dave Bell from the Tynemouth Volunteer Life Brigade. Many of you will have heard of them, but many people assume that they're part of that other large life-saving organisation that I'm not going to mention, but they're not. They're a group of guys and women based around the Tynemouth area who give up their time and risk their lives rescuing people and the occasional dog who's fallen off down the cliffs or got into other scrapes. And we've been working with them for the last few months. But I'm not going to say any more because I'm at risk of stealing Dave's thunder. So Dave, I'm going to hand over to you to tell us more about the amazing work that you do.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about the brigade and the stuff behind it. First of all, I was just going to introduce myself. Who am I? I'm Dave Bell. I've been with the team for 31 years. I retired from the rescue team and took on the Watch House directorship, which means I look after all the buildings, the collections, everything else that goes with it. I'm also quartermaster, so I spend all the money that we raise. Because of COVID, we've had a torrid time. That's why we're trying to diversify the fundraising streams, because of obviously we don't have any footfall coming through the museum, and that's where a lot of our finances come from, to support the museum and to support the work the rescue team does. Right, a little bit of history. I could talk about this for a long time, so if it gets boring, just somebody wave at me and I'll move on. But in 1864, we were started in 1864, which is 156 years ago, 157 years ago. I normally do this just to set the scene. Queen Victoria was in the 27th year of her 63-year reign. The American Civil War was still going on. The Geneva Convention was signed. The MCC was founded, and Tolstoy's War and Peace was published. Gives you a flavour of what it is. Going back to Tynemouth, there were no street lamps. The Tyne piers hadn't been finished. They'd only just started. There were just little stubs. There were no paved roads. There were no telephone or radio systems. Imagine without a mobile phone. It's bad enough if your mobile phone breaks now. Imagine if you just didn't have any of it. And if you wanted to send a message to somebody, you sent a man up the hill with a note. So on that night, the 24th of November, 1864, we also had a massive southeasterly gale blowing, and ships were seeking the safety of the Tyne. These were the piers. There's a thing called the Blackmin Rocks in the mouth of the Tyne. They're notorious rocks. Freestone Point, and that's the safe route into the harbour. I've got to say, Southeast Gale. So I end up being what's called lee shore. I end up, if anything goes wrong, we end up with them on our rocks. And we end up with 3 ships, the Friendship, the steamship Stanley, and the Ardwell. There was a Coast Guard team at the time, and there were lifeboats, but the lifeboats weren't motorized lifeboats. There were 12 men in a rowing boat, giving it what for. What happened that night, the people of Tynemouth came down to watch because there were all these ships ashore, and within 100 meters of of safety, they watched 32 people lose their lives. What they didn't tell you is that they also saved 34 people, but there was a huge public outcry about it. And a man called John Morrison, this guy, had an idea to train a band of men. He was already a trainer at the castle, training the artillerymen at the castle. So how hard could training a few men? So training a few men, how hard could that be? He took his idea to 2 guys, John Spence and Joseph Spence. They were both prominent politicians at the time. They were both mayors. They wrote the rule for a group of men to help the Coast Guard in times of maritime emergency. They were also quite smart businessmen as well. So what they did is, to encourage the guy to turn up, they put free tobacco on. And all of a sudden, on that night, the 5th of December, 1864, 120 guys signed up. All of a sudden, poor John Morrison, who thought he was going to have half a dozen guys to train, had 120 guys to deal with. It's a completely different ballgame. So that's obviously, because I also run a museum, I have all the documentary, all the stuff that we've got over the years is in the museum. But we're still around today. We're still a very active company. We're still a very active rescue company. The mission statement, because we've had to be dragged into the modern era because we're an accredited museum. Our mission statement has 3 specific items: to save lives and aid persons on the coast, to conserve and development the watch house and the artifacts to keep the museum going, and to educate. So we do the rescue team does the first objective. We in the watch house and the museum do the second, and we both join together to do the third, because that's a big part of what we do.
It's Ed Sheeran versus Olivia Rodrigo versus 3 lions in the race for #1.
Oh, right. Okay, so the rescue team. What does the rescue team does? 24 hours, 365 shore-based rescue team. We are what is called a declared facility to the Coast Guard. We do exactly the same thing as a Coast Guard rescue team. In fact, that's not strictly true. I always pause at this point because we do exactly the same thing as a Coast Guard rescue team, but our kit's better because it's one of those things. I'm quartermaster, so I buy all the kit, and because I'm buying ones and twos offs, I can probably afford a slightly better version of the kit. Whereas the Coast Guard, when they buy kit, have to buy 365 of everything because that's how many teams they have. So a rollout of kit to them is a massive event, whereas we can buy ones and twos. So we tend to, as the guys in the Coast Guard team, the Blythe Coast Guard team call us, oh, here come the guys with the Gucci kit. We have all, you might as well. And of course we'll let them believe that. Now, I'll just flip on here. There's a few very quick images and pictures. That's a guy going down a cliff. You can't see. Photographing rescues is incredibly difficult because you actually have to be involved in the rescue to get the good photographs. And if you're involved in the rescue, you're not interested in taking photographs. You're interested in hanging on for dear life, basically. So photographs of incidents and rescues become very difficult to get. We do training. Obviously, water rescue training these days, we're allowed to go in the water. I say that from a point where in the past we never went in the water. We were always encouraged not to go in the water. These days it's changed completely. So in water training, you've got to know your capability, so you've got to train in bad conditions. We carry all this kit, all these flotations. They've all the rescue team have got dry suits, life jackets, all the stuff to keep them safe. We do a lot of first aid, and people, you'll find when they have an accident or an incident, they never fall in the convenient place. They never fall in the middle of the floor with loads of room around them. They'll fall somewhere quite inconvenient. And we do a lot of our training is to extraction from people from those tight spaces. You know, like if somebody's going to trip and fall, they're going to fall on a set of stairs. Have you ever tried to extract somebody from a set of stairs? It's not as easy as it sounds, but it's something we have to train on, and we try. In the middle of that body is me, because I'm now used as one of the casualties. Dave, go and lie down there and pretend you've broken your leg. But we train on that, and we have to train in realistic circumstances, because that's what happens. And then we get things like oil birds. We did the searches for the oil birds. There was an oil slick, and we spent 2 days chasing birds up and down the coast. I know it sounds glamorous, it's not. And then there was the night the Pedalo Swan came ashore. The Pedalo Swan came off time our boating lake, and the guys had stolen it, taken it off the boating lake, carried it down the cliff, across the beach, and onto the seas. And they then pedal off because they were going to a party around the corner in the next beach down called King Edward's Bay. And when we got there, the police had been alerted. The police helicopter was out. This white swan with 4 guys pedaling like hell in it came round the headland with the daylight beam of this huge helicopter illuminating in this cone of light. It was so surreal. And some of the radio messages were, hello, yes, I can confirm the Swan is going south for the winter. The guys who were pedaling it when it hit the beach were arrested and put in the cells. They were cautioned under piracy on the high seas. Now, if you're going to have a criminal record, that's the sort of one to have, you know. What's your offense? Oh, it's just piracy. It's okay. So, and we have vans washed ashore. We do helicopter lands. This is on when the helicopters bring casualties to the hospital, the RVI. We go and prepare the landing sites because the helicopter doesn't like to land blind, even though we are landing blind in this situation. And then we get to the museum. It's the hidden gem. Most people won't know about it. It's a free to get in museum, which is our base and HQ, and has been. It's just recent. The paint's just about dry, because during the lockdown we took that time to do a lot of maintenance on the building. We are an accredited museum to the ACE Council standard, and we use this to encourage people in, to encourage donations, and to have somewhere for the rescue team to live. This is Google Earth, obviously Google Earth. This is where we are. We're right on the point overlooking the River Tyne. A whole series of just pictures. We also have a 20-inch naval signal projector in the tower, which is that thing, which is a carbon arc. It's basically a big torch, but it's quite useful because we can do local searches and we can illuminate incidents when they happen. That's the watch house from the seaward side, and that's sort of the stuff's on the inside. Obviously, everything in there has a story, and I mean everything has a story. We have a host of figureheads, which are completely irreplaceable because figureheads don't exist anymore, and these have come off ships, and we have the stories behind all of these figureheads. And then we got talking about images because of the challenge that's coming. Just a quick flick through a set of images that are appropriate for the brigade, if that's all right, Terry?
That's absolutely fine. Thanks, Dave. So
just some images. We have obviously a blue plaque from North Tyneside. You see within the museum, there's lots of pipes because they put free tobacco on to get the guys to turn up. So we still keep those traditions going. We have a horrible competition called it's the smoking competition, which is an evil, evil competition. You get a pipe and you get to fill it tobacco, and then you've got to keep it alight for as long as you can. It's evil. It's nasty. It's also the fact I'm the current rating holder of it, which is behind me. We also have a Queen's Award for Voluntary Service, 2007, obviously. These are some of the images of the stuff you'll see on the branding that's on the outside of our clothing and the vehicle. And so the TVLB 1864 and the crown appears everywhere. These are actually the beer mats. And of course, we have Tynemouth's crest, which is Treasures from the Deep, Messrs Arbaltis, and the Sailor and the Miner, and the three kings that are buried in Tynemouth Castle. We did a large celebration for the 150th, and this was the specific logo that was created by a school created this. A schoolgirl created this idea of the wave and the banners with the life ring. We also still have these. These are the Ganseys. This is a Colour Coats pattern Gansey, which we've talked to Terry about. We still wear these. I actually have one. So those things, this is going back an indication of the way it used to look. The difference in lettering is the BTVLB is the Borough of Tynemouth Volunteer Life Brigade, which as a borough doesn't exist anymore. We had to drop the B off. This guy's also wearing a Tynemouth medal because Tynemouth Medal Trust can award medals for brave acts. This guy was swam out to some kids on a little foy boat and saved their lives. Images, just the wheel looking out of the piers, the blocks, the breeches buoy, and then unfortunately I've got hundreds and hundreds of photographs. These are just a few of them. The wreck of the Peggy, the wreck of the Craignook, the pier broken. Just to give you flashes of images, the dredger Buick behind the South Pier, behind the North Pier. It was right in this. The stonework you see is the pier. What was it? The Regis, yeah. On the rocks in front of the watch house. The fishing vessel Conjuan, the Ganton, that's Ganton and St Mary's. That's us doing a cliff job. If you see the 5 guys on the top of the cliff and the white thing at the bottom, that's a casualty in a stretcher with one of our guys. So these are the kind of things we're doing. And there is a social side. There's a thing called a smoker, and again, notice that they've all got pipes. They've all got pipes and beer. And then obviously we've met the Queen. We've met Sophie. And thank you for listening. If you want more information, tvlb.org, or come and visit us. Terry, taught myself to a standstill.
That's great, brilliant. Thanks for that, Dave. I'm now going to mention. Before that, I think a well-deserved round of applause. I'm sure many of us weren't aware of the Life Brigade, and certainly not aware of your amazing history and some of the amazing things that you, excuse me, that you do. Now, I'm just going to very quickly join you on the stage. There we go. Although I thought you were still on there as well. There we are. As Dave alluded to, myself, Nick Devitt, who's here today, and David Ray and Anna Ray, who are here today, we met Lewis, one of Dave's colleagues, a couple of months ago, and they said how, explained how a lot of their fundraising activities had been sort of curtailed. They weren't allowed to go into pubs and shake tins and lots of other things, and people weren't visiting the museum. And they have, I think it's fair to say they have struggled. So we really wanted to try and help them with that. So one of the ideas we came up with, being part of a design network, one of the things we came up with was to have a design challenge, because one of the things we thought, well, if there are products out there that are being sold that are connected with the Life Brigade, and the people buy partly because of the association, but also because they're amazing products that have been created by amazing designers, and some of the proceeds could then go to the Life Brigade, everyone's a winner. So we have, so we're launching this design challenge next week. So next Wednesday from 5:30, you should have had invites to this already, but just in case you missed it, from 5:30 next Wednesday, there's a bit of an open day. I mean, the museum, as Dave said, the museum's open anyway, but we've got a special open day or open evening next Wednesday. So anyone that wants to come along can come and visit the museum, have a bit of a tour around, see some of the amazing artifacts they've got there. I mean, those figureheads alone are incredible, but there are so many things in that museum that are just inspiring, really. So the idea is that people will come along, see some of the things that they've got, get inspired by some of the images, some of the artifacts, some of the building, anything, and then create something that they are able to design and produce and sell. But whatever it is that they need from the brigade, they will kind of license that to them and allow them to use those things. And in return, they get a share of the sales of that item. And hopefully we can build a portfolio of products that are being sold all around the north and beyond, that are generating income for the brigade, raising the profile of the brigade, but also for the company selling them. It's a new product to add to their range. It's something that's inspired, that's got a bit of history, got a bit of heritage to it. So we've got about, I think there's about 20 people coming along already next Wednesday, and then another 4 or 5 who aren't able to come, but they're still interested. So we've got people who want to make clothing based on the Ganzis. We've got we've got artists who want to create various artworks. We've got some wallpaper designers. We've got people who produce craft products. We've got homeware designers. We've got a gin distillery. We've got all sorts of people, but we want loads more. We want as many as possible. And yes, Debbie, dog coats with the TVLB logo on it. Why not? I mean, Dave, dogs do fall down cliffs and get rescued quite regularly, I believe. Yes. Yeah. So maybe a little hook on the top if you do need to rescue them.
Yeah, maybe a dog to lift up. Yes, there we go.
So if you are interested in coming along to that, even if you just want to have a look around the watch house and have a bit of a guided tour, that's absolutely fine. But even more so, if if you or someone you know is able to create something and can be inspired by what they're doing, then come along. If you're not able to come along next Wednesday, then you can still find out more about it and submit something for that. So we're asking people to put their ideas for, well, more than no ideas, we'd really like, a good kind of, some kind of representation of what it is they want to do, some idea of where they're going to sell it, what it's going to cost. We're asking for that before the end of August. And then the guys in the brigade will have a look at those and see which ones they like, hopefully all of them. And then they can be produced in time for Christmas. But it's not a one-off. We're hoping this is going to be an ongoing thing. And we're hoping this partnership really bears fruit. So tell your friends, tell everyone that you know that this is going on, because we want to get as much out there as possible. Yeah. So that's enough from me. So Dave, does anyone have any? I think let's see. Did Trevor, you had a question you wanted to ask of Dave?
Dave's actually given me an answer to one of the questions, Terry, which was, are there any other organisations like TVLB outside of RNLI in the UK? And apparently there are three.
There are a few of us. RNLI, hang on, RNLI.
Sorry to mention that.
It's all right. They're a very efficient charity. They're really good at it. When you think about life saving on the coast, your first thought is RNLI. I wish I had their network of people supporting them. But we actually have exactly the same status as the RNLI. They declared to the Coast Guard that they will provide a set of services. We do exactly the same thing. We declare to the Coast Guard we will do exactly the same thing as a Coast Guard rescue team, and we do. So we have exactly the same status. I've got a lot of good friends in the RNLI, but I've still got to do the sign of the cross because they're a competitor in the funding side of things. So we've got to be sensible about that. And they're really, the women's network they have is brilliant at it. But we still have to do the fundraising like this design challenge. It's something different for the guys to get involved in, and something unique that can help both the businesses and the brigade.
Yes, that's a great idea. So the other question I had, Terry, was when you're running this thing, Dave, TVLB, do you have to tie to some national maritime standard and actually say that you've done this and tick this box? How do you operate in that fashion?
What we've got to do is we have to, because we're declared to the Coast Guard, we have to meet and pass the examinations to allow us to do the things to the Coast Guard standard. So rope rescue training, there are 3 levels that you're assessed at, you're trained at, and you get a competency award for. So we have to do all of those to the satisfaction of the Coast Guard. So the Coast Guards come and evaluate us and make sure that we're doing things correctly to their agreed methodologies, and we get it. We have that review, and we train our own people to their standards. So we have to meet the Coast Guard's criteria, because it's different now in the Coast Guard, because the Coast Guard lost their Crown immunity. So everything is risk-based, and they are very conscious about making sure that everyone is trained up correctly and in the same manner. We also are trained searchers. We're trained in the same way as the police are trained. So what the Coast Guard was finding, that they'd send a Coast Guard rescue team out on a search to look for a missing person, for example, and the police would then come along and not understand the search the Coast Guard team had done, so they'd go and search again. So what we've done is we've put the standards have been created and agreed with the police and all the people who are the police, the mountain rescue. If we all go out in a search, we all now use the same language and we're trained to the same manners. So when we come back and report to a police officer that we've done a search and 95% probability of detection, they understand when we all use the same terms.
Good. Thank you. Thanks, Dave.
No problem.
Thanks, Trevor. And again, thanks for that, Dave. Those of us who are coming next week are looking forward to another visit to the museum. We were there a few weeks ago, and it's fabulous. And as I say, tell your friends and anyone who you think might be interested. Stick something on LinkedIn. This is going on. It's a great opportunity. So I'd now like to welcome Dan Riley from Spearhead Interactive. I'm just looking for Dan. Where's he gone?
The first time anybody's ever said that.
I'll go now. So, okay.
Oh, you've just moved.
Bye.
Right, Dan, can I hand over to you to show us
By all means.
some amazing things? Right.
I'll do what I can. Okay, just before I start, can everybody see that okay?
We can, yes.
Fantastic, that's great. Okay. Just gonna fight with Zoom for a second. Great stuff. Good morning, everybody, or what's left of it. I'm the founder and the CEO of Spearhead Interactive Limited. We're a digital transformation company and we're headquartered in Middlesbrough. We specialize in the creation of interactive and immersive software, typically used to solve commercial and enterprise-based challenges by visualizing processes and by visualizing data. Thanks very much indeed, Terry, for inviting us alongside the team at Design Network North. It's been a number of years since we've attended a Rise and Design event, and it really is a privilege to have been asked to come and speak with you all today. So thanks very much again. Okay. There we go. So Terry first approached me to talk about a specific project that we've been working on at Spearhead. However, the more I thought about the topic of the presentation, which was designed for good, the more I began to think about the sector that we've been working at the forefront of for the last 8.5 years. More specifically, the value and the benefit that can be provided not just to customers, but also to society through the technologies that are developed, the solutions that are created, and the possibilities that they provide us for the future. We've been fortunate at Spearhead Interactive to work with some phenomenal clients, from local SMEs based in the Northeast through to global multinationals, and often pioneering a number of new solutions. For example, we worked with MAN Engines to bring augmented reality to the Southampton Boat Show back in 2014. We improved the visitor experience and saved significant amounts of time and cost by replacing a physical V12 1900cc marine engine with an A0 piece of paper, essentially, and providing people with an augmented reality experience to interact with that engine virtually, rather than having to obviously transport and maintain it. However, even before that, we worked with MPI Offshore. We brought virtual reality to the EWEA Offshore event in Frankfurt at the end of 2013, when the first generation of Oculus headsets had just been released. So we're not an animation company that moves into VR or a marketing agency that's now offering it. This is what we've lived, breathed, and done for pretty much the last 15 years of my career. We've extended our services and capabilities since then by supporting companies like Cyberith with their 360-degree omnidirectional treadmills. We did that at the Tokyo Game Show again in Japan back in 2014. And through investments in more than 65 pieces of hardware since then, we're able to mix and match technologies to provide weird, wonderful, and amazing ways to interact with and experience the software solutions that we develop. Not just to deliver a return on your investment, but also to deliver a return on experience for the user. So ultimately, we are an ideas and solutions business. We sit down with clients from a variety of different sectors, disciplines, and geographies to discuss, define, and discover ways to solve the challenges that exist within their organizations through the use of different technologies, whilst ensuring that we're putting people at the heart of the digital transformation journey. Perhaps it's a marketing and engagement solution like the experience we developed in collaboration with Accenture for the RBS Six Nations Rugby Tournament. You can just see there. Come on. There we go. Or perhaps the solution is also operational, maybe using augmented reality or wearables to drastically improve efficiency and productivity within logistics. Ultimately, a lot of the work that we do at Spearhead revolves around designing our client's definition of good into an engaging digital experience. Now, the technology that we work with and the solutions that we develop can be categorized in three main ways. visual data. I just want to walk around it, where you just need to see something. How does it make us feel if we move this from here to here? Can we make some sort of saving or add some sort of value to the business or the organization by mapping out the time it takes to move from one area to another virtually, for example? The second element is experiential. And that's where we bring assets and 3D models to life in order to replicate any kind of process as they exist in the real world. It could be teaching somebody how to assemble a piece of flat pack furniture, or it could be how to virtually set up an ISO on a camera without actually needing the hardware, for example, through to plenty of industrial training applications that we've just seen. And I'm sure there are plenty of applications we can think of from having conversations with Dave as well. The third area is functional data. And that's where we start to visualize processes that we can't do in the real world. For example, making walls semi-transparent and visualizing internal infrastructure and pipe work and things like that, facilities management. Now, each of these three layers can be uniquely affected by the integration of real world data, essentially creating a monitoring system by integrating IoT and sensor data at one level, or developing something maybe a bit more intelligent using AI, machine learning, maybe even a little bit of blockchain in order to actually control the visualizations in 3D, essentially turning that monitoring system into a control system. So whether it's an experiential training application that's providing reinforced knowledge to an industrial worker to help prevent accidents, or whether we're working across multiple stakeholders to visualize and monitor the 3D asset of a nuclear power station to ensure that Fukushima Daiichi or Chernobyl never happens again, we see these as really important tools and opportunities that provide some real benefit and some real good if they're designed in the right way. So we've got a really strong ethos and an internal culture within Spearhead. And wherever possible, we work to get involved in projects that don't just have a strong commercial benefit for us, but also a strong emotional one as well. For example, we completed projects for the Northeast Specialist Therapeutic Centre in Hartlepool, NESTS. It's a truly outstanding charity that supports a number of children and young people from across the UK who've unfortunately experienced serious mental trauma in early life. So we created a digital twin of the care home and we deployed it as an internal Android app for staff to provide to the children before they travel to the centre, which more often than not, was quite a frightening and frankly terrifying experience for some of the children. So we took the digital twin, we wrapped it up in a Beatrix Potter style storybook. Once upon a time in a town called Hartlepool, there's a place called Nests, and we asked you whether you were a big person or a little person, so that affected the height that you were navigating around the experience with. And we gave you the ability to navigate around freely and also threw in a little teddy bear hunt as well to encourage engagement and familiarization with the space before the children actually arrived. And that project was deemed extremely successful. Wherever possible, we also try and reinvest our expertise in developing solutions that we feel are valuable for society as a whole. So we work on our own intellectual property during periods of downtime in order to spin out new products and services that we hope will do some good. So in 2018, we released Safe Space VR. Again, that's a mobile app, but this time it's 360 degrees and virtual reality on Android and iOS. And that acts as a sensory room for kids with autism. Through the use of a cardboard VR headset, users are able to be transported to one of 4 different spaces that are designed to turn the benefits of an existing sensory equipment to 11. Why have a bubble tube when you can have a bubble Vegas waterfall, for example? Or one of 4 different emotional spaces that we've also put in there. So whether the user's feeling happy, sad, angry, or just needs somewhere calming to go, they can access all of these different environments for a single hub. And we work with Daisy Chain in order to validate a lot of the benefits of that solution. And again, that was incredibly positive and a really rewarding experience for us. More recently, we've completed work on an alpha prototype of a virtual reality training tool that we've developed specifically to teach patient intubation. It's really unfortunate that the number of people that are having to be ventilated due to COVID-19 is rising again. And we felt it was really important for us to do our own little bit and leverage our experience and our expertise to support the wider efforts of so many people across society around the world. So whilst we reached out to some clinicians and some friends in the medical sector, for the most part, it's been medical journals, YouTube, process breakdowns, and understanding exactly what it is that we need to do in order to replicate the process. And we're now at the point whereby we've got a pretty ugly looking alpha version, but the process has been mapped and it's ready for evaluation and testing by medical organizations around the world. And we can always add polish a little bit later on. I suppose that goes to some design techniques as well. Get that MVP sorted first, and then you can put some extra things on once you prove the value of it. Never put videos in a PowerPoint presentation. Okay, finally, there's two projects that I think provide really great examples of the breadth of the spectrum in which we work to design solutions for good. And the first was designed in 2013. And as far as we know, it's still the first virtual reality reconstruction that's submitted as evidence as part of a real-world court case. Unfortunately, it was a fatal road traffic collision. The case had been going on for 3 years at the cost of around about £7 million. We worked on with a forensic investigator. We created a digital twin of the environment that was based on police surveys. We animated the vehicles accurately based on the tachographic information that was provided. We even rang the Met Office in order to get sun position, wind speed, velocity, anything that could have had any kind of effect on that based on the duty of care that we had with the solution. And we also put in functionality to be able to play, pause, rewind, fast forward, slow-mo, the whole visualization, and also move through different viewpoints as well, whether you wanted a bird's eye view, a free roaming camera, or indeed wanted to be in the driving seat of either of the vehicles. So this software was developed as both a PC and a virtual reality application. And honestly, being in the driver's seat in VR and knowing that what you're seeing was the last thing that guy ever saw is probably the most profound experience I've had in virtual reality since setting up the company. Absolutely incredible. Ultimately, the solutions were used by the prosecution and the defense teams to run through different scenarios and visualize exactly what could have occurred within there. So again, 3-year case, £7 million. We can't say what we did was the cause of it, but within 2 weeks of us submitting this visualization, the case was dropped. The visualization was also used to swiftly resolve the civil case that was brought about by the family of the deceased driver. So again, reducing stress, anxiety, and a host of other negative emotions and experiences to, again, hopefully provide some good there as well. On the complete other end of the spectrum is a project that we recently completed with Autism Matters. We ran through a full consultancy session, discovery and design sprint, as we normally do with these projects, in order to design the concept for what we believe is the world's first diagnostic tool for adults with autism. We've got the ability here for people to log in, complete a series of different exercises which can be assessed and evaluated before booking an appointment in world with a clinician. So the users also have access to their own safe space, and we'll pre-populate that with assets, lighting and colors that are chosen based on the answers that people give during that question-based triage process. And following the one-to-one with the clinician that happens in world, we'll be also providing scenarios to the user as well. So there's an area where they can run through different scenarios that might make them feel uncomfortable in the real world, where they can just, again, practice that and get comfortable in the virtual. So on the one hand, we've got a stupidly realistic application that needed to be. And then on the other, we've got a completely abstract environment that still has the same amount of importance and the same amount of benefit, just for a completely different type of user. Both of them are designed to have the features and the functionality that are required to provide that value, and again, that positive experience, which we hope provides some good. It's been a genuine pleasure to speak with you this morning, and thanks once again, Terry, for inviting us. I hope that I've been able to demonstrate the value that immersive and interactive technologies can provide, alongside a little bit about the scale and the scope for good across a multitude of different applications, sectors, and also demographics. To finish up, I thought it might be nice to just share one final video, if I can get it working, of the Autism Matters solution, which I'm really happy with the title that the client came up with for this, which they called Finding Me. So I'll just quickly play that now. Thanks very much indeed for your time. I really appreciate it.
That's fabulous. Thanks for that, Dan. As is often the case with presentations like this, I think you've blown everyone's minds just a tiny bit. But I think, Helen, you had a point you wanted to make.
I think it's just a great application of the technology and giving people sight of a space before they are there physically. I can imagine I would find that useful at the moment. You know, I'm moving into new organizations post-COVID, have some anxiety around how things are laid out. I would love to do that. But then, you know, the greater need maybe with accessibility, someone who has accessibility needs can kind of assess the situation and have accommodations made before they're actually there, which obviously would reduce stress for them. So just awesome technology in so many different applications. Thanks for sharing.
No, genuine pleasure. We've done some, one of the construction applications that we did, we built the functionality to essentially do a disability audit really quickly. So just changing the camera height of the user and extending the proximity box of the character to simulate being in a wheelchair. So you pre-construction, you're able to test it to see whether or not you can go through and it's all going to fit and work and those sorts of things. But we also adjusted the depth of field blur as well. So essentially we made the screen all blurry to simulate what it was going to be like for a visually impaired wheelchair user inside of the space. And then you start to think, well, how could we maybe just use other simple filters? Like, because I mean, it's just number changes in the games engine, right, that we use to do it. Yeah. So it's really simple and really quick and therefore cheap to build this functionality through. But care home design, doing a black and white filter to see whether Doris is bumping into stuff because she's got dementia or whether it's because the carpets are clashing against the bed sheets. How can we leverage technology to design better spaces that improve the lives for people across, again, different demographics and different things? And using the same functionality for things like counterterrorism training and evacuation of stadiums and all sorts of stuff. So the same functionality just applied in multiple different ways across multiple different sectors.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank
Daniel.
you.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Helen. Yeah, as I said, thanks, Dan, and thanks to all of our other speakers. So what I'll do is I'll share the contact details for Chris and Bill and Dave and Dan, and I'm sure if you want to chat with them or connect with them, I'm sure they'll be happy to do that. So fab. Now we've got a few people who just want to do a quick 2-minute pitch to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about who they are and what they do. Now Rob was with us earlier, but he doesn't seem to be anymore unless he's hiding somewhere. Rob, shout if you're still here. I'll take that as a no. But I know Angela's here. So Angela, would you like to tell us about what it is you want to tell us about?
Hi, Terry. Thank you very much for that. Absolutely brilliant presentations. Really enjoyed this morning, as I always do. Always feel very inspired after being part of these sessions. Thank you very much, everybody. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Angela McOsker and I'm Head of Innovation at Northumbrian Water. And I wanted to gate crash this morning just to share that our Innovation Festival that I'm hoping that most of you have either been part of or at least have heard of is going to be happening again this year, the week of the 18th of October, as Terry has kindly put up there. So thank you very much for that. So the festival this year is going to take the nature of a hybrid event. So building on the really successful virtual event that we ran last year, we also want to add in some physical elements because we've really missed the energy and oxygen that you get from being physically with other people, especially when to create and identify solutions to some of the really tough challenges that we work on during the festival. So for this year, we're going to have the usual mix of water-based challenges that are the sort of things like leakage, flooding, customer service that are kind of a core part of our business. But some of these problems are also relevant to cross-sector businesses. So we'd absolutely love any businesses to come along for a little bit, for the whole week, for whatever you can spare, because everybody has really valuable expertise and knowledge that is invaluable to coming up with these solutions. So if you do want to come along and get involved, our website is innovationfestival.org. and you can already pre-register. I can send that link to Terry if he wants to share that further. But we'd love to have as many people along as possible. And I can't tell you where, but we will actually be having a physical venue in Newcastle where we will be having at least networking events if you want to come and have a look at that. So please do have a look at the website, and please do come along if you're available. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thanks, Angela. I always do a massive plug for the Innovation Festival every year because it is one of the best things you'll ever go to. If you can't get to Glastonbury, this is a very, very close second. And even when it's online, I had the absolute privilege of running a session last year. In fact, my monitor is currently on the little box that all the resources came in, and it worked perfectly well. In fact, we had guys in from Iceland for the full time of the 4-day session who I'm pretty sure wouldn't have been, and I don't mean Iceland the company, I mean Iceland, and I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have come if it had been a physical event. So don't feel that it being online it isn't as good, because it is just as good. But anyway, I'll shut up now about the innovation. As you can see, I'm almost as excited as Angela is about it. So thanks, Angela. We now have Sophie. Just wanted to mention something and introduce herself. So Sophie, I'll just find you. There we are. I think you're still on mute, Sophie.
And the classic leaving myself on mute. Yes, I just wanted to introduce myself. I started my own business. I used to work at Northumbrian Water, and I can absolutely confirm that the Innovation Festival is a great thing to go along to. I now work with senior women as a coach, and work with them to help increase their influence, help them successfully implement change, improve their resilience, make successful career moves, and find new ways of working. So I'm just trying to raise my profile in the Northeast. I've thoroughly enjoyed this morning, as I have previous sessions. So if anybody would like to talk about some of the things they're trying to achieve, you're very welcome to get in touch with me and see how coaching could help you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sophie. And I'll also share the contact details of those who are doing a 2-minute pitch as well. So as Sophie said, if you want to know more about what she does and want to connect, then that's how you can do it. Thanks, Sophie. Stephen, you wanted to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks. This is the first time I've been to this event. I've seen it quite a lot of times, but I set up a business 18 months ago, just the start of the pandemic, and it's a creative agency. We design brands and communication for commercial and social change. Been very lucky in that first 18 months. I've had people who work, in kind of like design industry for many years, have their own businesses and haven't worked for a year because of the nature of their clients and everything. So I've been just busy, or I think I've been busy. So what I'm starting to do now is to not to be a hermit anymore and attend brilliant events like this. I've had loads of Zoom conferences and obviously client chats. And this feels like you're actually, well, not quite real life, but it's a really nice format. It's obviously working really well. So nice one. I've loved it. Yeah, and we kind of have worked with enterprise brands, small brands, and we do a lot of, we're basically just a thoughtful design and creative studio. I've been in this room for 18 months, my daughter's bedroom. So we've just signed a contract to have a studio space. So it's going to be nice to get everything out and have a dedicated space to see clients and collaborate. So I'm just networking. I'm starting to do all this. So thanks for having me. And yeah, it's been interesting hearing everybody talk. And I think lighthouses has been a good metaphor for, obviously, for the Tynemouth Voluntary Life Brigade. And there was a lighthouse in Dan's, one of their VR experiences, and we're all here, lighthouses, just flashing at each other. But I think it actually has been really good to connect with a few people. So thanks very much.
Brilliant. Thanks, Stephen. And I'm pleased you found that. I mean, we have tried really hard to make it as close as possible to a real live event. And I think we've, and well, I say it's not to do with me, it's everyone who comes. I think we've all just got on with it and made it work, which is brilliant. And yeah, we're looking forward to getting back to live events, but I want to keep this hybrid aspect because it just works. It's brilliant. So I'm glad you've enjoyed it. Thanks for that, Stephen.
Also what attracted me was the design for good. So I've worked for the past 15, 20 years in various, good socially social roles. Yeah, I'm kind of I'm always looking to connect with people who are doing good things. So yeah, it's been really interesting to hear.
Brilliant, great. Thanks, Stephen. And now Gerard just wanted to introduce himself.
Hi everybody, thanks for this chance to have a talk. This is my first event today with you guys. It's been great, as everyone else has said. The purpose for me joining is that I'm relocating to the Northeast as of Monday. There used to be a bookshelf there with books on it. It's currently downstairs and boxed up, and we're getting ready to move. With that move, I am looking to establish a business up in the Northeast, predominantly providing training. So for the last 10 years, I've been working in the area of innovation management, design creativity. I'm currently the program director for product design at the University of Leeds. And I'm transitioning that then onto online as well. So I'm looking to develop or build on that and that experience and provide that to organizations in the Northeast, moving out of academia. So in short, anything that ranges from new product development, particularly the early stages where we're struggling to figure out design process, what to do next is often a question companies struggle with, or analyzing the quality of the data that you have and ensuring that the next step is built on a good foundation of information. Like linking to what was said earlier about the VR in particular, really grabbed me. I spent last year developing a VR app myself for training purposes on how to help designers empathize with user needs. What you find with novice designers in particular, that they skip that bit because they already have the idea and know what the solution is, and then figure out when they actually produce the thing that it doesn't solve the problem that they thought it would. But anyway, that kind of stuff is where I'm hoping to fill a gap. Yeah, so looking forward to becoming a sand dancer on Monday. So I might see you guys around.
Thanks, Gerard. And if you're wanting to connect more with the design community, then I'm going to be bold and say you've come to the right place. So do keep connecting, and if there's something I can do to help with that, then do get in touch.
Right.
So thank you all for that. I'm now just going to finish off by running through a few things that are going on. So that's what I said at the beginning. That's what we do. Hopefully today has helped to make some of that a reality for you. So you are now all part of Design Network North, whether you like it or not. But in terms of the team that facilitates things, that's our role. That's what we try to do, to support the network, to encourage collaboration, because that's really where the value is. I think it's people joining together to do things that they wouldn't be able to do on their own. It's about giving assistance. So if you want some help with something, or you want to connect with someone, or whatever it might be, do drop me a line, to pick up the phone. I do love it when I get an email saying, I could do with some help with something, because if we can't, we can usually find someone who can. It's about sharing knowledge. So you've heard some amazing things today, but I'm sure you've got some amazing stories to tell as well. So if you want to share the stories that you've got, that's something we can help you to do. And it's about raising the profile of the importance of design, the value of design, but helping you to raise your profile as well, and raising the profile of the North as being an amazing place where there are amazing things happening. So one of the ways that we do that is through Rise and Design, which is where you've been for the last couple of hours. We're having a break in August because, as I said earlier, I'm off to Barcelona. And thanks for the recommendations in the chat there. Thanks, Graham. I'll send you some rubbish photos when I get back. But so we're back in September on the 10th. I've got a meeting shortly about what the topic might be. So as it says there, watch this space. And we're also hoping that we might be able to do it live in Proto. So I think they can cope with about 25 people. So what we'll do is we'll have two types of tickets. So you can attend live. But for those of you who would choose not to, or you don't want to make the journey, or for whatever reason, you can join online. And we're going to work really hard to make sure that everyone gets a good experience. So if you do join us online, don't feel that you're second best, because you really won't be. I hope anyway. So we're going to try and make those work, and then hopefully that'll be the start. So in October, it'll be much the same. And for that one, it's over to you. It's up for grabs. If there's a subject you think we should cover, or if you've got a great story to tell, we can build the event around that. So do please let me know. There's lots of information on the website, and it's your website, it's your network, so do make use of it. The design challenge that I mentioned, that with the Life Brigade, the open day, there's information on that, and where you can get registered for it. All the events appear on there, but there's a news page, there's a jobs page. So if you've got some news that you want to share, then send it to us, and we'll pop it there on the website. And there's lots more information about things that are going on. To do please pay a visit. designnetworknorth.org if you haven't been there before. I'm just going to quickly mention our two sponsors. Design Network North is owned and managed by RTC North, and one of the programs they deliver is Supply Chain Northeast. So that's a funded program for SMEs in the Northeast region. Sadly, it doesn't include Tees Valley, and it's all around helping you to get into new supply chains, to maximize the supply chain you're in, get into new markets, all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of funded support available. So if that's of interest, I'll send some information on that in the email that you should get on Monday. And then the other sponsor is Innovate UK. It's not, I should get the latest version of that. It's now called Innovate UK Edge. But again, it's support. It's available to businesses, and this time it's across the north. So we have offices in Leeds and one in Cheshire, so we cover the whole of the north. So if you're in any of those areas, and it isn't just for small companies, it can be for larger companies as well, and you want some help with innovation, whatever that means to you. Again, there are people, we've got a team of about 30 across the north who can help you with that. Again, I'll send some more information on that. And if that's of interest,
carry on just on that. CPI is one of the registered providers of support, so we can provide anything from chemical processing through electronics, through pharmaceutical development. So there's a lot that we can offer to anyone from that Innovate Edge program.
Thanks, Andy, and yeah, thanks for the reminder, because one of the things that Innovate UK have just launched is a funding program for Innovate UK Edge clients who wish to work with one of the catapult centres, such as CPI that Sandy mentioned, and you can get some funding to enable you to essentially to pay for them to do some work with you. So that's one of the many advantages of being part of the Edge program. Again, I'll send some information out on that if you'd like to get involved. Final mention for the, as I said, the design challenge. Spread the word, tell your friends, put it on LinkedIn. We want this to be huge. And also, if you're part of a charity or a similar organization that you think this might be useful for, get in touch, because we'd love to, if this model works, and I'm sure it will, we'd like to roll it out more widely. So do connect with us if you think that might be of interest. And then I'm just going to finally mention the Design Means Business conference. We had a series of conferences. The first one was, how long ago? I can't remember. Anyway, we had some amazing speakers from some of the biggest companies and brands in the world. So we've put it all online last year. So if you're missing a bit of design stuff in August and you want to hear some amazing people, then the Design Means Business conference is all there for you. So that's another event that's on the website. So you just register as you would for a normal event, and you get access to all the videos. So that's enough from me. It's been great to see you. I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss you guys, but hopefully I'll see you all again in September. So have a great summer. I mentioned Iceland before. Just a quick, if you're wanting something to watch, Katla on Netflix is amazing. I've been saving the last episode for tonight because it's going to be a good one. And every episode there's been a bit where you go, oh. So if you haven't seen that, I would strongly recommend it. But without further ado, thank you all for being here. It's been great to see you. Have a great weekend. Have a great summer, and we'll see you all again soon.
Thanks, Terry. Cheerio.
And hopefully the next time I see you, it'll be for real in 3D. And I don't mean Dan's version of 3D, I mean real 3D.
You're right. Thanks, Terry.
Good to see you all.
Very much, everyone.
Have a good weekend.
Hey guys, bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Take care. Thanks for your time.
Cheers, Terry.